here we go. So I went ahead and put the templates up on the wall about where the speakers are going to go. When you guys are deciding, I probably forgot to mention this, when you guys are deciding where your speakers go, we talked about going 30 degrees off center for your left and right. You can't make a surround sound perfect for the whole room. You're going to create a surround sound perfect for your favorite seat. And I hope your favorite seat is front and center. That's going to be the seat that this whole thing is built around. If you were to split it up amongst several seats, sure, it might sound better in all the locations, but it's not correct. It's not THX or Dolby Digital correct. So, anyways, we have my speakers up here, up to where they're supposed to go, front left, front right, center. Cutting three studs out of the way. I'm going to go back up, double check, make sure that this is not a load bearing wall. I'm 99% sure, but you guys at home, double check. This is not something you want to play with. Not that your house will fall over if you cut out a stud that you're not supposed to, but you'll start to see sagging. Sometimes you'll see the drywall crack. It's really not a good idea. Make sure you're on the side of caution. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut out these holes and see what happens with our stud situation. In order to cut out these speakers, I'm going to use an ordinary drywall saw. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a lot faster to put a powered tool like a Sawzall or one of those wiggly saw blades. Don't do that. You can cut a wire, you can cut a pipe. There's a lot of things that you'll be surprised. Sometimes the builders take some really imaginative routes to get their task accomplished. So we're going to go ahead, cut these out, use your handsaw. I like to catch my dust so we don't make a dusty nightmare. And when I go over the top of the stud, I'm just going to do my best to get the drywall out of there, and here we go. When you cut your hole, you're going to be, uh-oh. I can feel something here right now. I can feel there's something in the way right now. I bet you that's a pipe. When you cut your holes, that's why we use a handsaw. I didn't know that thing was back there. I don't know what it is, but you never know what you're going to run into. So, when you cut your lines, make sure you go, when you cut on top of the line, make sure you go a little bit outside the line. We're going to cut a little bigger than what the template tells us to cut. I know that's against what you would try to think, but always the speakers are a little bit bigger than the template, so I found that if you don't cut a little bigger than the lines, your speaker won't fit. And you have that speaker bezel will cover like half an inch past your line, so you're fine. I'm talking a little bit, like the 16th outside your line. I don't know what this is right here. So I've already got a little tiny line here. I'm already going to be doing some patchwork. That's disappointing. Maybe I can still use this hole, maybe I can't, I don't know. I'm going to cut a little hole here so I can peek. Man, I don't know what it is, but it is a pipe. It's a pipe. So that means I can still use this hole, but I'm going to have to go about 2 inches further to my left. So I'm going to adjust it on this one. I'm going to adjust it on that one, and when I'm all done, I'm going to have a little tiny hole here I need to patch. Oh, this is a hard one, guys, but we'll get through it. When you guys are going through this, I'm glad this kind of happened. This is something that you guys probably commonly might experience. Don't get yourself down, right? We have a project, we have something awesome that we're going to do, and it's going to take some work. So if we've got to fix some problems, that's all right. Anything that you guys can do to your house is fixable. Anything. Breaking a pipe, drilling through stuff, it's all fixable. So don't get down. We're going to battle through this. And here we go. I'm going to finish, I'm going to move this over 2 inches. move that one over 2 inches, and recut this pipe. Or, I'm sorry, I don't want to recut the pipe, I'm going to recut the hole. So I couldn't go the whole 2 inches. I went and off camera, I went and took some measurements and things. I couldn't go the whole 2 inches because that would have pushed me a little too close to that stud. So I ended up going 1 5/16. I moved it over 1 5/16 this way. I moved that one 1 5/16 over that way. Now, if you guys are doing your installation, you might be able to get a little closer to the stud. I can't get that close to the stud here because I actually plan on putting an in-wall speaker box to help dampen the sound. We'll talk about that later on. Right now, we're just going to worry about cutting these holes. So, here we go. The new adjusted hole ready to cut. I got to patch that little one right there. Do your best to keep your patch. Do your best to keep your patch. You never know if you might need it later on. As you can see, obstacle number 2 already. It's an electrical cable right here. Had we been using a power saw, we'd be patching a pipe, patching some electrical wiring. So always use your handsaw. I'm going to go ahead, shut the camera off, and cut in these last 2. So it's a little disappointing that I've got to go through so many studs, but to me it's worth it. It's important for me to use in-wall speakers because I really like the quality, and so for me there was no other choice. It was in-wall speakers or nothing, and so I've got to do what I got to do. That means I got to cut out some studs, I've got to redo some framing. Don't get down, just keep plugging away. This is one of the obstacles, and the finished product is going to be so good, it's going to be so worth it, and this really isn't a difficult task. This is something that could easily be done in one Saturday or something like that. It's really not that bad. It sounds worse than it actually is. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Now that the wall is patched, textured, and painted, I wanted to take a few minutes and just remind everybody a little bit about the process of how we do an installation of this kind. The very first thing you're going to want to do is find a layout. So we started with our layout on the wall. Now I knew that I was going to have to cut out 1 or 2 studs to accommodate for this center speaker, and I was willing to do that. The stud that was in the way over there, that was kind of a surprise. Generally, I can make the outside speakers work just by shifting them in a few inches, adjust here, adjust there, and you're able to pull it off. In this case, we just couldn't do it. So we had to remove a stud here, we had to remove a stud here. There was a lot of framing to be done. All that's already been done. Patched, texture, painted, came out perfect. Now, this might be daunting for a lot of people. This might turn you off. Don't let this turn you off to the idea of putting the system exactly the way that you want it. I've done full installations, hooking everything up, installing the speakers, patch and texture. I always leave the painting to the customer, but I've done full installations in one day, including installing the speakers, including hooking it up, including showing the homeowner how to do the whole thing. So this whole thing with framing and everything can easily be done in a day if you've got a couple guys that know what they're doing. Since you guys might just be starting, it might take you guys 2 days. That's okay too. We've spent a few days on it because I'm actually filming and that takes a while and I've got to get my kids to cooperate. So it's a little longer process for me to do it here. But it's still, I think, wrapped up total in this job. I think I probably have maybe 10 hours, probably less. It went pretty quick. So don't get turned off. This is going to provide you years of good times and good memories. Don't cheat yourself out of a good experience. So we have our holes laid out. The center channel is always going to be the trickiest. If there's going to be some studs removed, it's going to almost always be out of the center channel. Now if you guys decide that you don't want to go through that much work, you can do a tabletop center channel where you just have a little table that sits underneath your TV and you put the center channel on that. Maybe if you're putting your home theater equipment right here in this room, then you can just put the center channel right on top. That's not a big deal. That's also a great way to go. In this case, I want every inch of real estate of the floor that I can get So I'm taking all of my equipment, my home theater equipment, my security stuff, everything, all my remote control processors, everything is going into a closet, a designated AV closet. I don't want anything here. That's why I wanted to go with all in wall, all the way around. My kids won't be knocking things over, or stabbing my speakers with pens or whatever. It's all going to be nice and protected inside the walls. Now that I have my speakers cut out for the front, I'm ready to start doing the layout for the back. Now, it's really important to remember that we have to do the layout first. Don't cheat yourself and start, oh, okay, I want a speaker here, I want a speaker here, I want a speaker here. You got to lay everything out, and then you can move on. Now, in this case, since I've done a lot of work in this house already, I'm very familiar with what's going on in my attic and where the wiring goes and everything like that. So I wasn't super worried that I was going to have to make more holes. If you guys are not sure whether you're going to make more holes by accident for the rest of your installation, hold the patching till the end. Okay, I knew that I'm not going to make any more holes. So that's why I went ahead and did the patching, but it'd be really silly to do some patching now, do your instilling speakers, and then have to do more patching again. Okay? Do your patching all at once, and then you can time your patching out too, so that while you're waiting for your patches to dry, you can be connecting the wiring for the surround sound system, you can be programming remote control, you can go do a coat of mud, then go back to the remote control, then do another coat of mud, then do some cleanup, so you can kind of space it all out. Because I'm making a video, I had to do it all at once. So, we're ready to move on. We got our speakers and the front speakers placed, ready to go. I'm going to go 3 in-wall speakers on the front, and I'm going to do 4 in-wall speakers going across the back. So this is going to be a 7.1 system with my subwoofer right here in the front right corner. So a 7.1 system has 3 speakers in the front, a speaker to the left, a speaker to the right, right next to the listening position, which will be the couch. We're going to go with that in one sec. And then it's going to have a speaker behind you to the right and behind you to the left. So we'll go ahead and start getting that lined out and move on from there.